Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Drop-In Morning Show for educators, where we are live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and now on LinkedIn. We are so thrilled to be able to welcome you into your morning as we get started. It is Wednesday, February 9th, and you know it's going to be a good one because I have a brand new guest with me. Kim is here. We also have some good news stories and a lot of things we're going to get into. So feel free to be an active participant this morning if you are tuning in live with us. We'd love to see the comments. If you are listening to this after the fact, maybe you caught it on YouTube or you're listening on Teach Better Talk podcast, do us a favor, take a screenshot and tag us that you are watching. We always love to engage with our network, regardless of when we get to see you throughout your day. So let's get started here in just a minute. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Kim, I'm so thrilled that you're able to get up bright and early and join us. How are you feeling this morning?
I'm definitely thinking I should have put my puffy eye cream on this morning.
I feel that way every morning. I think if you watch these morning shows, like you see me and I'm like slowly waking up. And then by the time you've gone through an hour of dialogue, an hour of conversation, engaging with our network, I'm like, all right, friends, I'm ready to start the day.
Yeah, it is a good way to start the day, isn't it?
So fun. You know, Kim, I know that we have been able to chat and have been connected for many years, but I'm not sure that everyone in our network will have done their job in connecting with you and stalking you like I have. So would you mind sharing a little about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I spent the majority of my teaching career in fourth grade, which I absolutely loved. It's my favorite grade to date. And then I stepped into administration and I became a literacy coordinator and then a curriculum director. So the literacy coordinator position was really great because it kind of forced me to go in and teach at all levels, K through 12. And, you know, things are similar between grades, but they're also vastly different. And I was really thankful for that opportunity to really see what does instruction look like at each of those grade levels. And then I was a curriculum director. And then, you know, like you guys, I took this giant leap in 2016 and kind of decided that my mission was really to empower teachers to live big, bold, brave lives and to really reclaim their joy, not just within the profession, which is really hard right now. I'm a truth-telling person. I don't sugarcoat stuff, but also understanding that we can reclaim our joy outside of the profession because, as you know, sometimes our family life really takes a hit to this profession if we can't figure out, and I don't like the word balance because I don't think we'll ever achieve balance, but just creating that flow, right? Where like I feel good in my career, but I also feel good in the other parts of my life. So now I spend the majority of my time traveling the country and I do a lot of keynote speaking. And then my team goes in and does a lot of professional development topics.
I love it. You know, Kim, we've been connected for a bit and obviously learning from you has been so wonderful. I'm so thrilled that you're able to join us this morning. So everyone in our community can hear about your passions and hear about your tips and tricks, but also following you on social media. You know, we, as in the people that follow you, get to learn a little about your life, which is so fun. I know you're a dog lover. I know that you're constantly like, I really love that you're talking about the opportunities we have to find joy in every element of our lives, because even just being able to be connected to you, I see that there are other things in your life that you value, that you celebrate. And I think that we're all kind of trying to find that inner peace with how much we get to have in our personal lives and our professional lives and how those blend together and it ebbs and flows over time, which is perfect for this week. Eventually later on in the show, we're going to get into focusing on what we love. And obviously you do love so many things you do in education, but I'm sure you also have some strategies on finding that balance with our families as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Well said.
So when you originally got into education, what was driving you and how has that impacted your work right now?
I think I have just had this inner calling to lead and learn. I am such a learner. I was the classroom teacher who wanted to go to all the PD. And while there were a lot of things I could have done better for sure as a classroom teacher, I kind of think that my magic sauce was I could go to professional development, but then I could also come back and I would implement right away. And I just had that kind of inner drive to always be learning and evolving my teaching practice. And so I think that that's a big part of it. And kind of as a separate note, I'm also a happiness coach, which is kind of a weird little thing that goes along with education and outside of education. But early on in my life, I suffered some really hard things, which we all suffer hard things in life. But this was a very dark time for me. And so back around 1999 or so, I really sought a lot of personal self-help. It's kind of like when the self-help field opened up and there were books about this. And I just was like on fire with it. And so while I'm over here kind of deciding like I really want to empower teachers and I want to do so both in an education way, but also in a personal way, I think that just completely lit me up. And I saw the power of what it continues to do in my own life.
No, it's so good. Obviously there's so many things that we're going to be able to dive into, but as we get into some of this dialogue, it's so interesting to expose our community to what you are passionate about and, being able to take past experiences and apply them now to the professional development that you're being able to provide to districts all over the country. I mean, that is the power of every educator, whether you are physically in the classroom, whether you are coaching teachers, whether you're an administrator role or leadership role, we're all just doing our best to take these experiences and really provide as much support as possible to those around us, which I think is such a powerful element of education. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
When you are working with districts, let's pretend you're headed into a school today. What are the types of things that you're able to coach on? Obviously, I know happiness was something that you just mentioned, but is there typically one theme? Do you have a lot of things you like to teach on?
Yeah, I do have several things, but I can link all of them back to, a particular educational circumstance that kind of fueled my interest. And so trauma-informed schools is something that I really feel strongly about. And that was partly born out of a former fourth grade student that I taught that really changed my entire teaching career. He was that student who, he was like the Tasmanian devil. He came into the classroom on fire. He had no parental support. He was just a nightmare to teach. And I knew early on in my career that relationships were just the utmost important thing. And I wish I knew which book taught me that. Somehow I knew that. So I just kept working on that. And then, lo and behold, that opened up this entire other side of his life that I was unaware of that was very, very tragic at times. And so he's kind of like my success story. He's actually graduating from college this May. And so, trauma-informed schools is, there's so many, right? Growth mindset, project-based learning, social and emotional learning, all of these things just light me up. And I've never been very good. Sometimes I think I have shiny object syndrome because it's like, I can't just zero in, right? It's like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do standards-based grading and we're going to teach because I'm fueled by all of those topics. And I think it's such a different way at looking sometimes at the traditional school system that we all see is changing and emerging very quickly.
No, it's so powerful. And the beauty of being able to know that you can share on so many different passion spaces for yourself, knowing that they're all connected and rooted at these core fundamentals, these core values. And I so value that. So we're going to get into this conversation even deeper. But before we do, I want to head into our good news segment, our holidays for the day. It's always wonderful to start our day off celebrating, and it is Wednesday, and there is a ton to celebrate. So, Kim, we are going to stick right here, and we'll be right back with some good news discussion. morning, everyone. Thank you for popping into Daily Drop-In, where we are live every single morning, Monday through Friday. And we just love being a part of an element of your day. I know some of you that are commenting, good morning, Bree and Brad and Holly and Nikki and Aaron. It's so good to see you this morning and have you active when we are live currently. If you're catching this after the fact, we'd love to hear from you as well. So good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is. We're thrilled that you are choosing to be a part of the Teach Better community here. You know, Kim, we really believe on the morning show that we get to celebrate as much as humanly possible. I know that you mentioned, schools have a lot that they are working through right now. Teachers have a lot that they're working through. Leadership has a lot that they're working through. And sometimes it can feel like you're walking through mud, right? Just like trying to get to whatever that destination looks like, but holy cow, it's going to take a while. And we always like to take a purposeful moment to celebrate, and holidays can be a great way to do that. Good news can be a great way to do that, but we like to celebrate even the wacky holidays. So are you up for celebrating some holidays this morning?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So for everyone, good morning. It is February 9th, and it is officially the day you've all been waiting for. It is World Pizza Day. So are you somebody who is a pizza fan, Kim?
Yes, we actually have a Thursday night pizza date that has gone on for 21 years.
Wow. Okay. So this is the hot topic, and you know that we're going to fire people up about this. So I apologize in advance. And if you are listening right now, this is the time that you need to go over to your phone and make sure your cursor's on the comment bar, or if you're watching on your TV, you can comment as you jump in. What do you put on your pizza, Kim?
I'm just a sausage cheese girl, but I have to have it. We call it medium well done when we put the order in. Like, we don't want it totally burnt, but we need it to be a little crispy.
Okay, so you like a crispy crust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what about you?
Pizza, I feel like I'm open-minded to so many things, right? I'll try any topping once, but I am kind of a classic cheese pizza eater. I don't know if that's bad.
Oh, no, there's not one way to be a pizza eater.
I feel like pizza, you can put anything on, right? So for everybody out there, we want to hear your pizza order. And we also want to encourage you, maybe today's the day. I know it's Wednesday, so maybe you can wait till tomorrow and celebrate with Kim's family, but today's the day that you can have permission to order pizza tonight. I like it.
Yeah, that's great.
Lori's commenting this morning that she likes pepperoni, onion, and banana pepper. That's always good. Ooh, Holly's chiming in. She says mushrooms, pepperoni, spinach, and lots of cheese. I agree. Lots of cheese is essential for pizza. I love that gooey pizza where it kind of you take your piece and the cheese is just following you. I think that's so fun. As if this day couldn't get any better, it's also chocolate day. So for those of you who are chocolate lovers, today is the time to go get a chocolate bar. Maybe you can celebrate with a little bit of chocolate after your pizza night. This sounds like a very unhealthy meal.
We should give ourselves more pleasure in our lives.
You're right. On a Wednesday, we're halfway through the week. We're about to have the best Wednesday that we've had yet. But, why not celebrate it with pizza and some chocolate, right?
Yeah.
Additionally, if you want to go more on the healthy side, it is National Bagel and Lox Day. So for those of you who want to enjoy some, chilled salmon on a bagel, you're more than welcome. Are you a Lox fan, Kim?
I don't even know what that is.
It's like smoked salmon, right? Where
okay.
Put it on a bagel, maybe with some cream cheese on top.
Oh yeah, I would like that. Yeah, I like salmon.
A little bit of salt, a little bit of, I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lori, who's putting emojis in. I think she's following along. I like this, following along with, can you find an emoji that matches these holidays? There's got to be a bagel emoji, don't you think?
I think there is.
Okay, good. Nikki's saying I used this question to warm up last week with her students. So I guess this is a good one to warm up with students with. What do you put on your pizza? How do you celebrate after you eat pizza with some chocolate? I love this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that she's just doing normal talk with her students. That's what they need.
Yes. What a great way you could foster that discussion, kind of warm up everybody's brain before you dive into content. I love that. Last but not least, I can honestly say I've never done this, and maybe it's because I don't have the resources to do this, but I can make a plan to put this into my life, maybe within the next month or two. I don't know how I'm going to do this goal, but it's read in the bathtub day. Kim, have you gotten, a great bubble bath and, grabbed a book and read?
I'm a total bath person in the winter. So there's usually a book that follows me in there.
Yeah, I mean, like read in the bathtub. That's a very specific type of celebration. And I think if you have one of those homes that has those beautiful tubs, maybe that's a great option for you.
Yeah, yeah. Mine's not that big, but it's nice. It works.
Well, if anybody's looking for some self-care after they've eaten their pizza and enjoyed chocolate, get yourself a bubble bath and, pick up a book. And I think you can enjoy a nice, book in the back. Maybe light a candle, turn the lights down. I like this.
Yeah.
Sounds very calming.
It does.
Kim, if you had to pick up a book to read in the bathtub to celebrate Read in the Bathtub Day, what would be the book of choice?
Oh my goodness. You know what? I just finished The Wish by Nicholas Sparks.
Oh,
have you heard of it?
Yeah.
So good. It just blew my mind. It's like heart-wrenching. And so yeah, sometimes, I'm reading fiction, but I'm also still just constantly absorbing any kind of nonfiction personal help books. So
I love that we need to remind ourselves sometimes that when we grab a book, it absolutely can be, a professional development book that's challenging our thinking as an educator, but we also can take time and step away from reading the educational jargon and enjoy some of the other stories as well. I think that's a great reminder. So
yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Kim, also on the show, we love to bring a good news article. This can be something that our community uses to foster relationships with colleagues. Maybe you're taking away a fun fact, or you're able to start a conversation off because you saw just a really funny article on Daily Drop-In that you thought was a good news story. Additionally, these are stories just like Nikki kind of used with her kiddos to warm up the class, right? You can use this as a conversation starter in your classroom or anything in between. Then this good news story I thought is really interesting and very relevant if you want to bring it to your students, because as educators ourselves, Kim, we know that there's always good discussion when you talk about Guinness World Records. And this story is about an Idaho man who breaks 52 world records in 52 weeks. And what an accomplishment that is. Holy moly.
That's crazy. You know what? One of our teachers here in my town just broke some kind of robotics record.
Wow.
Yeah, his name's Pat Jarbo, and he's like the STEM teacher now. And I just read it in our newspaper. Yeah, he is in the Guinness Book of World Records now.
I think that's crazy. And it's so interesting how many things are world records, right? Things that you don't think about. I think the most interesting part of this article, I would encourage you all to go look it up, is that the records that he broke are things that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that would be something that we would be trying to set a world record for. As you look through the article, his name is David Rush. He's one of the most prolific Guinness World Record holders. He has over 200 titles. And so as he went through these 52 world records, he did everything from juggling to being the fastest person to complete a 100-meter dash while juggling blindfolded down the street. It's like, okay, or juggling objects while standing on an exercise ball, or it's so funny the things that he went through to compete for this world record. But holy moly.
What about eating chocolate? That might be one that I could be a contender for.
You know what? I think that you and I would be really, really good together, Kim. I think we could break the record of we're on a live stream eating pizza and enjoying chocolate on, World Pizza and Chocolate Day. I think
and then we would go run, because that's what we would need to do after.
Yes, exactly. I love this. Holly's jumping in and says Teach Better can get a Guinness World Record for the most number of live hours. Holy moly, is that true, Holly?
I bet so.
So true. I feel like the team is live all the time. I mean, even just throughout a week, we're live every day for Daily Drop-In. We have our brain break that is in the afternoon every Wednesday. That will be later today. I hope you guys choose to go check in for brain break. But then we're also live for other reasons, celebrations that we're able to foster conversation around. And then 12-hour live, Holly, I'm sure knows, 12-hour live is a professional development day that we are having on February 26th, where we will be live for 12 hours straight. So, Holly, I do think we have an opportunity here to set a world record. Kim, I know that we've had a lot of discussion around things that you love, and I'd love to continue this theme of discussing things that we love and really provide some tactical strategies to our community as we get into the week. So we're going to head into Brainstorm Bank and get into our theme this week, which is all about love. Preparing for Valentine's Day. I love it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Drop-In. This is our Brainstorm Bank segment. And as many of you know, this is a very, very special segment to us that we provide on the show every single day to make sure that we take a moment and we pause and we just sit back and ask our community, hey, friends, do you need anything? We know that there has been a ton of hurdles in your way, but there's also so many celebrations. And we love to be in a community where you are never brainstorming on an island. So if you need a brainstorm partner, Kim and I absolutely do not promise that we will have the perfect answer for you, but we would love to direct you in any direction, regardless of what you are problem solving through, and be a partner in finding that solution, whether it be related to brainstorming a student behavior that you're striving to overcome. Maybe it's a lesson plan hurdle that you have found. Maybe it's a struggle with a colleague or a membership of your leadership team that you're really wanting to make sure that you approach with a solution-seeking mindset. We are here for it. So feel free to add those topics, those ideas, and those questions in the comments. You know, Kim, as we get started here with our Brainstorm Bank, this really is a time that we also talk about our theme. And our theme this week is all about emphasizing and reminding ourselves of our why, the things we love. And I know that you have so many things you're passionate about, but if you had to identify really a topic that fuels you, you know, would it be relationships for you? Or are there other things that you feel like is your soapbox topic?
Yeah, I think it's probably relationships, and creating just that space, even not just within the classroom, but Brene Brown talks so much about vulnerability, and I feel like vulnerability needs to get into our schools. So many times we go down the hallway and we smile at the teacher that's coming towards us and ask how they are, but in reality, we have no idea what they're dealing with because we've not really been taught that we're allowed to kind of share those conversations and those struggles. We're all supposed to kind of put our stoic face on and go about our day, when in fact we know that things can shift drastically when we give teachers as well as our students the space to have some emotional vulnerability and understand that we're not alone in how we think. We might think we're crazy or not functioning, but we're not the only one feeling that way. So while I promote a lot of understanding that we have the power to take control of a lot of things in our life, because sometimes we feel powerless, don't you think, Rae?
Sure.
Yeah, and we can feel like we're the victim of the system. And so I think while we want to call an ace and understand that things are hard, we also want to know where the pieces are that are really within our power. And so I get really fired up when I think about that we actually all have the ability to kind of step in our power and change the trajectory for our students and for ourselves.
So how do we do that? I'm sure that's a very general question. Of course, it's like, oh, well, let me give you a list of 2,500 things we can do. But when you say that, an educator is listening, we have teachers listening right now, administrators right now that are thinking, nodding their head, yes, you're right. We do have the power. I do want that message to come across. How can we become a part of the solution?
Well, I think I'm going to go back to the happiness research here because I think this kind of blows people's mind, and it really does show in our life where we're letting life kind of happen to us, and then when we're taking charge of our life. And so, and I guess I'm really passionate about this. We created something, and during COVID, I went from being on 150 stages to being on 4, and so I had this idea forever and ever and ever that, like, while we all want our students to be better readers and writers and mathematicians, and obviously when you're a teacher, those are things that are near and dear to your heart. But for me, I always wanted the opportunity to teach kids how not just to be good at school, but to be good at life, to be good at relationships, to be good at resolving conflict, to be good at joy, to be good at love, And I always felt like, while I embedded some of that in my curriculum, it was hard because I always felt the pressure of getting through the next chapter and getting through the next standards and all of that. And so when COVID happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to create this thing for students and for teachers called the Happy Academy. And the Happy Academy is a set of social and emotional learning lessons for students. But then there's a separate part of it that walks teachers through their school year. And it's really based on the fact that there are certain kind of levers that we can adjust in our life that are that cause a ripple effect. It's kind of like, sometimes we think, oh my gosh, I have to make these drastic changes. And that can feel overwhelming when, as well as I do, it's like, it's really just these small little actionable habits and tips that we can do that kind of send us into a space that feels a lot better. So I could definitely talk about the happiness research real quick if you think that's something that your teachers might want to hear.
I would love it, please.
So we all have what's called a baseline happiness level. So Rae, maybe my baseline happiness level is here and maybe yours is a little bit higher. So good things happen in our lives. Maybe we go shopping for the day, or we get a massage, or we get a new relationship, or we get a new job, a new home, whatever it is. Something good happens to us or our kids, and our happiness level goes up for a period of time. And then it always goes back to baseline. The same is true from when we experience hard things in our life. We can experience grief, loss, stress, challenges, really hard things, and our happiness levels will go down for a period of time, but they always go back to baseline. And I would say you kind of see that in your life, right? Like there's times where you get happy and then it's like, okay, now I'm back to where I was before. Happy, not, you know what I mean? Do you kind of see fluctuations?
Absolutely. Not only within the day, but also within phases of life that we've all continued to experience. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's interesting is some people say, well, okay, but where does that come from? Why is somebody's higher than mine or lower than mine? And so if you think of happiness as a pie chart, what we know is that 50% of your long-term happiness is genetic. It comes from your mom or your dad or a mixture of both. And I'm going to tell you, Rae, I could be standing on a stage with 3,000 people. And when I say that, 80% of the heads will drop. And I will see teachers thinking like, I'm so screwed. You could just see it on their faces, right? Like I was born to like a super loving mother, but she is kind of wired to like pick out things that are going wrong. It's just like how her brain works. And then my dad is just the opposite, And so 50% of it is kind of this genetic tendency. It's the same reason some of us can look at a French fry and gain 5 pounds, and some of us can eat McDonald's French fries every day, right? So that's 50%. Now, I think it gets really interesting because only about 10% of our long-term happiness levels come from our external circumstances, Rae. So what's an external circumstance? Are you married, single, divorced, or widowed? Do you have kids? Do you not have kids? Do you make $50,000 a year or $5 million a year? What kind of home do you live in? What kind of car do you drive? What kind of job do you have? I can take every external circumstance that you have in your life and I can throw all of those together, and all of those are still not going to add up to more than 10% of your happiness. But what happens is people like you and me and every other human, we let external circumstances take up way more than 10% of the pie. And I talk to students about this all of the time. And so here's the deal. I want to be careful that I'm not promoting like toxic positivity here, because I don't believe that we're supposed to just not feel our hard feelings. I can't stand when somebody says, now just focus on all the good that's in your life, or now, sweetheart, just be thankful for the job you have. It's like, no, I'm allowed to feel mad, sad, frustrated, anger. Like I'm allowed to have the full range of emotions. And we know there are certain things that would happen in our life that are going to steal more than 10% for a while. COVID might be one of those, right? Yeah. But what's neat is to know that there comes a point too where you're like, hey, okay, I'm choosing to be in the gutter over here, and I get to choose my next thought. So we have to be really careful that we're not allowing these external circumstances to steal too much of our joy.
I do love the the thought behind now knowing that there's a lot of different factors, but that can affect our baseline, but that the baseline exists. It kind of gives us hope that if you find yourself a little bit down in the dumps, if you find yourself really stuck in a hard space, there's an element of hope to say, yeah, but I know I'm going to get back to my baseline, right? Like
That's
I
right.
know I know that gets to happen, which is comforting, I think.
It is, because it lets us know and our students know that actually more of this is in our power than we ever thought or we ever knew. And so, if 50% is genetic and 10% is our circumstances, that leaves 40% of the pie. And that's the part that's lit me up for the last 20 years. Because regardless of your genetics and regardless of your external circumstances, every human being has the ability to increase their happiness levels by up to 40%. And Rae, what we know about this and why this is important is, 10 years ago, I would have been laughed out of the room if somebody hired a happiness coach to come and work with students and teachers or employees in every business, because it was like happiness was woo-woo-y. Like, who has time to focus on that, right?
Right.
Yeah. But what we actually know from the research, Rae, is that when we can get teachers' happiness levels to positive more than negative, neutral, or stressed, we see that teachers and students are 10 times more engaged in their job. Okay. They are 31% more productive. They're 3 times more creative. And so what happens is when we actually put well-being at the forefront, kind of social and emotional learning for our teachers and employees within the schools and teacher leaders, but also for our students, we start to see this really magical thing happen. And so many people are like, but Kim, what's the 40%? What do I do? How does that, Well, I could talk to you about this all day, but it's the culmination of 3 things. It's your thoughts. Our thoughts drive everything. And guess what? We have control over our thoughts. We get to choose our next thought. It's our behaviors and it's our actions. And so that's the piece that we really work on, is helping us learn what those habits are and what those actions and behaviors are that kind of help us really take charge of our thoughts, so that when you're going throughout your day, Rae, are you feeling good more than you're not feeling good?
Yeah. I want to dive into this further, making a connection to our community here. What I know we've had numerous discussions on, there's this topic that we've discussed numerous times that we call like today's best, right? We want everybody, whether you're a classroom teacher, your students themselves, to be able to give their best for the day. But we talk about that your best is not always you 100%. Sometimes you have things going on in your world and your best is actually 60%, but that is your absolute best that you are able to give that day. And so it's not so much that we should carry this expectation that everybody comes in with the best mindset as their very best self all the time, but for whatever situation they're in, for whatever life they're currently in right now, the expectation is that you're going to give whatever you can. You're going to give your best for that day. And sometimes your best is 60% of what it could be. And sometimes it's much higher. And I love that as we're relating that back to this conversation here, you're really talking about that baseline. The baseline is that 100%, right? You're showing up as yourself, as authentically as you are, and giving your all. And sometimes it's a little bit lower and sometimes it's higher, but you're able to intentionally come in and give what you can in that moment in time. And I love that that's a reminder today that there are some factors that are absolutely possible to impact what that number looks like. But we have this reminder that, coming back to your baseline and knowing that you have control over elements of that is so powerful.
Yeah. And I love that you reiterated that, Rae, because I think that sometimes people can think, it's supposed to be all about sunshine, butterflies, and sprinkles. And I don't agree with that at all. And in fact, I think we have to start having more of those difficult conversations with our students, where we get vulnerable with our students and we teach them emotional intelligence. And then we have to also have that happening within the people who are running the system in the schools, And so, like, how refreshing, Rae, would it be if we could get teachers to actually spend some time just saying, hey, this is what's really hard for me right now? Because I'm going to tell you, when I went from being on the stage live for keynotes to doing virtual keynotes, I thought to myself, how am I ever going to capture that same energy? But I'm going to tell you something that happened, Rae, that was really magical, that still happens with a virtual keynote. When I do a virtual keynote, I have them respond what they're thinking in real time in the chat box. And I'm going to tell you that has been the place where vulnerability opens up, because teachers are seeing what other teachers are saying and thinking. And it's like, it's this magical thing that never got to happen when I'm on a stage, because when I'm on a stage, I can't stop and be like, so what are your thoughts here? And I just love that. For me now, I have learned how to open the gateway to get teachers to have real conversations, not what are we supposed to do and how are we supposed to act, but let's just be real human beings who are having a real human experience. And we're reaching for joy, but we're also honoring the struggle, which is just as important.
So powerful. Kim, if you had one takeaway that you wanted our community to take away with them into their day after kind of tuning into Daily Drop-In, what is the one fact, reminder, or element that you really hope that educators walk away with after meeting you and continuously connecting with you from today's conversation?
I think when I go back to my teaching career, I left almost every day out the glass doors, and I just left with my head down and this look of defeat much of the time. And I would immediately start to rehearse all the things that went wrong that day. I didn't handle this particular student the right way, or I didn't teach this lesson very well, or, it could be a multitude of things. And what I've now realized, Rae, is that that's what we all do. We can do, if I drew a circle and I had, 99 yellow dots in that circle, which were 99 good things that you did that day, but then there was one thing you screwed up. Why do we all focus on the one black dot, right? And so we don't always take the time to look back and go, gosh, but this is what I did really well. And so I think for me, what I most want for teachers to do is I want them to walk out those doors at the end of the day with their shoulders back, their head held high. And I want them to know that what they do on a daily basis matters, and it matters greatly. But what I also want them to do, and this is going to fit in with your theme of love, is I want them to love themselves. I want them to know that, like, we're all lovable, even though we're full of flaws, we're full of mistakes. We don't do everything right. Sometimes it's hard to bring our best, but we can extend love to everybody else, but why can't we extend it to ourselves? Because there's nobody, Rae, in a day's time that does more for you than Rae.
Right.
Yeah. So how can we learn to give ourselves a little grace along the way?
Such a good question, a good tidbit to consider as we head into our Wednesday. One of the things I really value and get excited about for Wednesday is that we have a special segment that we only do on Wednesdays at the end of the show, where we talk about how we can take these ideas and elevate them. How can we take these ideas and continue to be a explorer, continue to be a learner in these topics. Every single week we have different themes, and sometimes they're themes that we're very comfortable talking about. And sometimes they're themes that we're very uncomfortable talking about, or we're feeling very uneducated on the topic. And this show, this 5 days that we're able to discuss that, is purely just the beginning of our exploration. So we're going to transition into recommendations we love, so we can make sure that we provide some recommendations for those of you who are interested in taking this idea a little bit further. All right, everyone, as we get into our final segment in Daily Drop-In this morning on Wednesday, February 9th, we want to make sure we leave you with some ideas, some tidbits of where you can go explore further. We've been talking about our passions, our mindset, and everything in between. And while I know a takeaway, a requirement for our community is going to make sure that you go follow Kim on all of her social media, check out all the websites and content she continues to push out, which we'll make sure to share with you in just a second. But I'd love to get into books, podcasts, blogs, resources that we can all continue to explore this topic. Kim, do you have some typical go-tos? Obviously, I know you have a lot of content on this, but other people or other resources you turn to as well?
Oh gosh, yes, I have so many. Well, my podcast is called She Finds Joy, and we focus a lot on what we just talked about, the overcoming and acknowledging the struggle, but still finding joy. But yeah, I mean, like I don't know if you've read Dan Pink's book, A Whole New Mind.
No.
I'm going to switch gears with you a minute, but like when we're talking about educating our students, that book blew my mind. It's by Dan Pink and it's called A Whole New Mind. And it's actually explaining that the school system that we've been in has all been left brain focused, right? And so left brain is, can you read, write, and understand information? Do you understand language? Can you do mathematical concepts? It's linear, it's fact and fact focused. And then the right brain is creativity, imagination, big picture thinking, design. And what Dan Pink is saying is we've had this school system focused on left brain thinking. I mean, if I asked you, Rae, what percentage of the day do teachers get the opportunity to teach things that are left brain versus right brain? We'd all be like, gosh, I feel like 90 or 95% of it is all left brain. And so what Dan Pink is saying is like, hey, things like creativity and design, those are the very things that the students today are going to need to have those skills, because the jobs they're going into, 80% of them haven't even been created yet, right? For the kindergartners this year, 80% of the jobs they will go into haven't been created. And so what he's doing is he's really asking for this kind of overhaul of the traditional system. And you're doing that in your work, right? And I'm doing that in my work. We're talking about project-based learning and getting away from some of those traditional things that we know aren't really working for kids or preparing them. And I love that. That's the very work that Teach Better does, but that book really opened my mind. It's like my go-to book about like education. And I know I've gotten away from happiness, because I could certainly give you 20,000 happiness books as well. But I don't know, for some reason I felt called to share that one.
I love that. That's such a good recommendation. And I also want to make sure that our community gets to learn from you, since I know you have a lot to offer. Would you mind sharing how our community can not only stay connected with you on social media, but also continue to consume your ideas and your content, your strategies elsewhere as well?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start out sharing my Instagram, because Rae, I've got to get better at Instagram.
I understand. I'm working on that too. So we can have this goal together.
Yes, let's do it. Like, I'm great at Instagram stories, but like other than that, I'm like, so I'm Kim Strobel Joy on Instagram. And then I have the podcast She Finds Joy. And then I also have a Facebook group called She Finds Joy. That's free for educators. And then my website is strobeleducation.com. Now, if you do go to my website, you're going to scroll down to the bottom and you're going to see these things called joy drops. And so every week we send a joy drop, which is like a little email or a blog or a tidbit where we share just one tiny little happiness tip that's going to help make your life a little bit better.
And who couldn't value that? I mean, holy moly, I'd love a little reminder. I love that little drip, a little something to give you that reminder, that strategy, that approach that you can take on with the week. What a very cool idea. I love that.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, I want to encourage everybody in our community to go connect with Kim. Like I said at the very beginning, Kim and I have been connected for so long. I so endorse the work that she's doing, and I always love to be able to bring you on the show and expose you to our Teach Better community, Kim. But also, I love pushing our friends, our family to go connect and add other people to their professional network. And you're definitely somebody who is doing powerful work that we want to make sure our community is exposed to as well. Like everybody else, I know we are headed into a wonderful Wednesday, and I want to wish you all the best Wednesday ever. I just have a feeling this is going to be a good one, friends. So let's carry the mindset that something special is going to happen today, right before we celebrate with our pizza and our chocolate and our bubble bath later tonight. But as you guys enjoy your final sips of coffee, we hope that you head into just a wonderful opportunity to be able to make an impact with students. And Kim, I really do appreciate you waking up bright and early to chat with us.
Yeah, you're welcome, Rae. I'll be happy to share this episode with my community, who also needs to hear the very good things. I love everybody that's on your team. Chad and I, we have this running thing going on, and it's just so nice, isn't it, to be with people who are really aligned to wanting to serve and make things better for all of us. And you guys, I really do compliment you for that as well.
Thank you. No, it's so fun. We were talking before we went live earlier today that it's just so powerful to be able to surround yourself with good people. And yes, that is in your working environment, but we all have control over that in our personal and professional networks as well. And so always fun to be able to continue to engage with people in our network. Kim, I want to wish you a wonderful Wednesday as well as everyone else. Don't forget to tune in later this afternoon for our brain break with Jeff and Dave and whatever other shenanigans they add to that show. I feel like every week I'm just crossing my fingers that they don't say something so goofy. So we hope that this show is going to be good this week. Additionally, as a reminder, we'll be back here every single morning for Daily Drop-In and wrapping up the week on Friday with the one and only Brad Hughes. So we will be here. We hope to see you soon. And cheers, everyone. Happy Wednesday.